we got a new filing that's unsealed.
Yeah.
And you got out of prison. You can tell us about that if you choose to. Steve Bannon is in prison right now. You mentioned earlier, and yes, fact check, you both refused a lawful subpoena and the court process.
Based on the constitutional
Yes, and you have your reasons, but the court process.
Principal's position.
Yes, but the court process resulted in these prison sentences. That is, as you mentioned, separate.
Released pending appeal, and you know that as well as
That's
I do.
separate.
Yes.
From the underlying coup case.
And
I want to play, wait, I'm going to let you respond, but I want to play the Bannon podcast, which you've also worked on, is cited in this new filing. Some of this is unsealed, and it's cited as evidence that Donald Trump, through this plot, was trying to illegally overthrow the election. And they cite some of this sound, which we're now going to play.
The vice president's got a lot of power, and that's very important to recognize.
Are we to assume that this is going to be a climactic battle that's going to take place this week about the very question of the constitutionality of the Electoral Count Act of 1877?
Well, I think a lot of that depends on the courage and the spine of the individuals involved.
Vice President Mike Pence? I don't want to.
This is criminal evidence, and I'm going to let you respond. But this is criminal evidence, newly unsealed, in the case against Donald Trump. You know how it works. If he loses the election, this federal trial will proceed. Your report is briefly mentioned on page 136 as an example of what they call deliberate and fraudulent efforts to lie about the election. So I will give you some time right now, having gone through your prison stint on the subpoena and looking at this filing. Don't you understand that much of this material has been disadvantaged to Donald Trump as a defendant and could be part of what gets him potentially in trouble? We'll see what the jury says if there's a trial.
There's a couple things to say here. First of all, this is election interference, pure and simple. This drops 30 days out from Election Day.
Because of Trump's lawyers' delays.
When it never should have come before it.
Don't you think that the American people deserve to hear this? Though?
Well, I'll go to Peter and then to Sarah. But not unlimited time.
Point.
Yes,
this is simply election interference. What's interesting about this as an issue now, I did a little polling. This is interesting. Crosstabs from a Rasmussen poll show that MSNBC viewers see the two top issues as democracy threats at 46% and abortion at 28%. For Fox, it's immigration at 49%, inflation at 32%. And for the general election, this democracy threat is at 6%.
Okay.
Which is to say that I get it why you want to talk a lot about this. But the last thing I want to make a point of, the Electoral Act of 1887, Ari, was used in 2000 in the Gore-Bush thing by the Democrats, in the next one by the Democrats. Kerry used it, Clinton used it. That's all that was going on.
Okay, that's
with Trump.
All right, and I'm going to give Sarah time. Sarah, go ahead.
So I think that's going to be the common argument from supporters of Trump and Republicans on the Hill probably is going to be that this is election interference. But my counter argument to that is, shouldn't the voters in the 2024 election know if one of the candidates on the ballot tried to overthrow the 2020 election? I think that they deserve to have these facts presented to them. It's a shame that this won't go to trial beforehand. I wish that there had been more time on the calendar. There's a lot of people you can blame for that, whether that's Merrick Garland dragging his feet or even maybe the Senate should have voted to convict Donald Trump. We wouldn't find ourselves in these positions.
And I want to show, Ambassador, I want to show something. I'm going to bring you in. I want to show you people remember you as a star impeachment witness. You got a subpoena.
That was much ado about nothing, Ari.
Well, you got it. I showed it. You said at the time it was a quid pro quo. You confirmed it there.
As I said to Peter a moment ago, I had a quid pro quo this morning. I went to Starbucks and I gave them my American Express card, and they gave me a cup of coffee.
Right, but under law, a commercial transaction is different than a quid pro quo, which I think you know because you were at the center of that. And after January 6th, we saw what Ms. Matthews did. Let's listen to where you drew a line in the sand.
Completely in, even with all of the foibles that everyone has already identified, and I don't need to go through them again, until January 6th. It was a no for me after that.
A no for you after that. Why was it important for you to say no more Trump because of his January 6th conduct? And do you stand by that?
No, I don't stand by it, and I'll tell you why. I've now lived 4 years under the Biden-Harris policies, and I have to say that those policies are not only becoming an existential threat to our country's way of life, but to our allies as well.
So when you
and it has to.
this is
no,
so
no,
Ambassador,
let me, no.
this is, I'll let you
Artie,
finish, but
no, I
this
want
is
to
so
finish.
striking. You said it was a no for me after that, after
I did-
January 6th.
I did.
And here we are right now.
I did.
And you're saying it's a yes for you.
It is a yes for me. It is an absolute yes for me. That is how badly the Biden-Harris team have prosecuted their job.
But the whole point you seem to be making was that January 6th and that kind of attack on democracy is bigger than any
But
policy difference.
I am seeing so many attacks on democracy that eclipse January 6th.
So I want to ask Sarah.
If
Here
you
we
want to
all
ask
are.
me what those
I would
are, I'm
love
happy.
to-
Well, I'm going to
I
go
would
Sarah in
love
the back.
to see you
But this is, I appreciate.
ask Kamala Harris why she flip-flopped on 16 things.
Look,
and
I
I'm only
appreciate
one.
everyone being here. Sarah, I'm curious your reaction to someone who, like you, has participated, and I say that positively, Ambassador. You, as a government official, were asked to testify, and you did. And then you drew a line at Jan 6. And then, Sarah, we see this with certain people, and I say it respectfully, who say that, he's at the table with you, and then tell us years later, never mind. Can you explain that, and what's your response to that?
A couple things I want to hit real quick. First, Kamala Harris, I think we should give her grace that she can moderate her positions. If J.D. Vance can go from calling Trump America's Hitler to now being his running mate, I'm going to give her that grace that she can moderate her positions too. Two, the ambassador said that he's concerned about protecting our allies. Well, what about Ukraine? Donald Trump has basically said that we should give parts of Ukraine away to Putin. And on top of that, he has openly invited Putin to invade some of our NATO allies. So those are things that concern me about a second Trump term that have nothing to do with democracy.
Ambassador? No
That's-
Peter, I'm going to enforce time,
nothing to do with
and I'll give you time.
democracy.
You
Those
can
are-
moderate the next debate.
Well, I don't. By the way, I don't mute
Getting
mics,
to the
Ambassador.
democracy
But Sarah, let me reach that.
Yeah.
When you look at him and you see,
Yeah.
and there are other people like him who served the government, we credit that, who participated and testified honestly, and then say no more after January 6th, and then they come back. It's almost like a whole wing of the party is J.D. Vance, and never Trump, then ends up meeting always Trump. How do you explain that, and what should voters make of that? To Sarah, and then you get a rebuttal.
Please let me in after
Yes.
that. Thank you.
I think the difference between us is that I'm willing to set policy aside in this election. I don't agree with Kamala Harris on most things. But at the end of the day, you know what we can agree on? That we respect the Constitution, that I believe she is someone who will uphold it. And Donald Trump has shown us that he won't. He is the first president in our nation's history to disrupt the peaceful transfer of power. And so even J.D. Vance trying to have this revisionist history last night at the VP debate where he's trying to say that Trump peacefully transferred power over. Yeah, that was after 140 police officers were brutally beaten at the Capitol, and rioters were there inspired by these conspiracy theories that Trump spread, all because he couldn't accept the fact that he lost to someone he perceives as weak as Joe Biden. So, yes, I don't want to put someone like that back in power in the Oval Office because I don't think he deserves to step foot anywhere near it.
This is stunning.
I
Policy
promised
doesn't
the
matter.
ambassador a rebuttal, sir.
Policy doesn't matter.
Yeah, my turn. Thank you. I was about to say that. Policy matters greatly because policy translates into our way of life and the way our country operates. What I want to say is what Donald Trump did on January 6th was not an exemplary thing. And I already said he lost the election. He should have admitted he lost the election and moved on. And the best victory would have been to beat Joe Biden at the ballot box, now in this case Kamala Harris, in 2024. So you're not going to catch me in that group of Republicans who deny that a proper election took place, even though there were irregularities. I don't believe those votes would have added up to a change in the election. What I want to express is that I've now lived for 4 years under the Biden-Harris administration. I lived in a bucolic city of Portland, Oregon, which has been destroyed by those policies, absolutely decimated. Businesses are suffering. My own business is suffering solely for political reasons. And it's all fixable, and they don't want to fix it.
And if Trump loses, Governor, in one sentence, if Trump loses, it will be because
he's been too divisive, and people don't like that. They want a leader who can be positive.
Sarah?
I would agree. I think that people are sick and tired of the chaos and division that he would bring, and it seems like he's more interested in looking in the past, refusing to acknowledge he lost the 2020 election, than looking forward to the future. And that's what I think Kamala Harris' candidacy has been bringing, is she's all about hope and optimism and actually talking about her plans for the future.
Gordon?
There was actually 4 years of relative quiet and economic prosperity. And if he loses, it'll be because he hasn't prosecuted his case against Kamala Harris the way J.D. Vance did so effectively last evening.
Peter?
Ari, J.D. Vance did a beautiful job last night doing two things. One, communicating to the American people who he is. He wanted to close the gap between him and Walz's favorability. He did that beautifully. He's going to get a big bump, and he helped Donald Trump on that. The other thing J.D. Vance did, which is pertinent to your question, is make it clear that we had safe, secure, and prosperity, and Kamala Harris is a source of chaos. If he loses,
I have
it's going to be disinformation and election interference.
I have 70 seconds. If he wins, it'll be because
the American people care about immigration, inflation, and the economy, crime, foreign policy, and he leads in the polls on that.
If he wins, it will be because America's standard of living has so perceptibly declined over the past 4 years, and it was so reasonably good during the preceding 4 years.
I think if he wins, it's because Joe Biden didn't drop out of the race sooner and didn't give enough runway for Kamala Harris or another candidate, and Democrats didn't get to really have a fully fledged primary process.
Governor, 20 seconds. Sorry.
I think if he wins, it's because of the intensity of his supporters, and they're going to show up. The question is, will the Democrats show up? That's what I think it gets down to.